Rain had left the city park slick and glistening, the dim street lamps casting long, trembling shadows over puddle walkways. Detective Mara Lawson stood with her K-9, Rex, at the edge of the deserted playground, eyes narrowing at the rustling undergrowth. Something was off, an instinctive, gnawing unease that pressed on her chest. The missing children, vanished without trace for weeks, were supposed to be long gone. But Rex, a German shepherd with scars and intelligence that rivaled any human's, had stopped, ears pricked, pawing the soft earth beneath the swings. And he wouldn't move. Not yet. If the story intrigues you, consider liking and subscribing. Stories like this are only possible with your support. The wind whispered through the skeletal branches of the park's trees, rattling the chain-link fence like a warning. Mara pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders, the fabric damp from the drizzle, her eyes scanning the dim outlines of the playground equipment. The swings swayed slightly on their own, squeaking against the metal posts, the sound echoing in the empty night. Rex, her partner in every sense, crouched low, tail rigid, nose quivering as he sniffed the ground. He had been tense all day, refusing to eat his dinner, refusing to leave Mara's side. There was something here, something he could smell, something hidden beneath the innocuous veneer of slides and benches. "Rex, what is it?" Mara whispered, voice tight, half to herself, half to the dog. The German shepherd didn't respond in words. He never did, but his growl was low, deliberate, vibrating through his chest. He pawed at the muddy earth beneath the main swing, dirt clinging to his fur. Mara crouched, eyes following the direction of his nose. The ground was softer here, too soft. Her fingers traced the muddy edges of what looked like concealed hatch. It was slick with rain. Her heart thumped violently, an erratic percussion against her ribs. She glanced around the park. Empty. Silent. Too silent. "Rex, you sure about this?" she murmured. The dog barked once, sharp, insistent. That was enough. Mara's hands worked quickly, tugging at the hatch, prying it open. It gave way with a groan, revealing a dark staircase leading down into a confined underground room. The smell hit her first, stale, damp, and faintly metallic. Something in her gut tightened. She drew her flashlight, the beam slicing through the darkness. The stairs were narrow, ancient brick walls closing in on either side. Each step creaked under her weight, echoing in the silence like a warning. Rex moved ahead, ears forward, tail stiff. At the bottom, the room opened slightly wider than she expected. The walls were lined with crates and shelves, some overturned, empty for the most part. Mara's light flicked across scrawled markings on the walls. Childish scribbles, crossed out words, numbers, names. Her stomach turned. "Kids," she breathed. A muffled sound made her spin. Rex was already there, pressing against a far wall, growling low. Mara followed his gaze and froze. There, in a shadowed corner, a small girl curled up, eyes wide and red-rimmed, teeth chattering. "Hey, it's okay," Mara said softly, taking a slow step forward, hands raised. The girl flinched, curling tighter. "Please don't him," she whispered, barely audible. Rex barked sharply, snapping her attention back to the shadows. Another child appeared, a boy this time, peeking out from behind a crate. His clothes were filthy, his face streaked with tears and dirt. Mara's chest tightened, a mix of relief and rage burning inside her. "Rex, good boy," she murmured, kneeling to the children. "You're safe now. I promise." As she moved closer, another sound reached her, a soft shuffle behind the far wall. She froze, heart hammering. Whoever had put the kids here might still be around. "Stay close," she whispered, signaling Rex to flank the room. He obeyed instantly, his presence like a shield. Mara's flashlight flicked across the shadows again, and then she saw him. A man, middle-aged, eyes darting, hands trembling. His clothes were nondescript, but the desperation in his gaze was unmistakable. He raised his hand slightly, as if to surrender, but there was fear in his stance that Mara couldn't ignore. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice firm. He swallowed, looking anywhere but at her. I didn't, they just, I... The words fell apart. Mara felt a sick realization begin to take shape. He wasn't just a kidnapper. He was scared. Terrified, even. Something else lingered beneath the surface. Guilt, maybe, or a secret too dangerous to speak. Rex barked again, closer this time. The man flinched and backed against the wall. "Don't move," Mara said sharply. Her voice was calm, but carried the weight of authority. "I need names. Now." The man's eyes flicked to the children, who now clung to each other in the corner. He exhaled slowly, finally speaking in a low, shaky voice. "It is not just me. There's more of us. People. Powerful people." Mara's pulse quickened. "Powerful how?" He swallowed, gaze darting to Rex and back. They told me to hide them. I didn't know what else to do." The weight of his confession sank in. This wasn't a small-time crime. It was part of something bigger. A network, hidden in plain sight. Mara's mind raced, trying to connect the dots. Missing children reports, anonymous tips, that strange energy in the park. "Rex, stay," she murmured, moving closer to the man. "I need everything, names, locations, times. Don't leave anything out." As the man began to speak, listing names and places, the children watched Mara cautiously, slowly understanding that the danger was over. Rex laid down next to them, ears flicking toward every sound, his body tense but protective. Outside, the rain began again, pattering softly on the park's empty paths. Mara glanced upward to the hatch opening, a grim smile tugging at her lips. She knew this was only the beginning, and in that quiet, tense room beneath the city park, the first fragile threads of hope began to weave themselves into something stronger. The city park looked different in the morning light, washed in pale gray drizzle, puddles reflecting the skeletal trees, and swings that still creaked softly in the wind. Mara Lawson sat in her car, a thermos of coffee growing cold in her hands, staring at the hatch she had closed just hours earlier. Rex lay across the passenger seat, his ears flicking at every distant footstep. The children had been taken to a temporary safe house, but their wide, haunted eyes lingered in her mind. Some of them were too young to speak, some too terrified to remember. Detective Lawson didn't have the luxury of relief. Every lead the man in the underground room had given her had led to dead ends. Or worse, silences that rang louder than any confession. And now, with the rain still dripping from the eaves of the park pavilion, she realized she had to go deeper. The morally gray figure had made himself known. Tom Carter, an urban maintenance worker, mid-40s, unremarkable in most ways, except for the way his hands twitched when he lied. He had insisted he had only followed orders, only provided a hiding space, never hurt a child. Mara didn't know if she believed him. His fear was genuine, but fear can be a mask. "You think he's telling the truth?" her partner, Officer Luis Vega, asked from the driver's side window. He leaned in, raindrops on his jacket, eyes wary. Mara shook her head. "I don't know. Some of it, maybe, but there's more. I can feel it." She stroked Rex's head, seeking calm in his steady presence. The way he reacted when Rex growled. "He's hiding something bigger. I just need to find it." Luis exhaled, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "And if we're wrong?" Mara didn't answer. There was no room for hesitation, not with children's lives on the line. The first clue came from the underground room itself. Tom had mentioned a series of pipes running beneath the city park. Maintenance tunnels no one noticed, barely documented. If the children had been moved at night, these tunnels were the most likely routes. Mara, with Rex at her side, traced every line of possibility, every covered manhole and grate, cataloging each one in her notebook. By midday, Mara was soaking wet, gloves stiff from the cold, stomach knotted from tension. She crouched at a manhole near the old bandstand, Rex sniffing the air, tail low but alert. The smell, metallic, faintly sweet, hit her immediately. She crouched closer. "They're here," she muttered, almost to herself. Rex's ears twitched, nose quivering. Mara called Luis. "I need backup. Now." Her hand hovered over the radio, heart pounding. She didn't like the thought of going alone, but the tunnel's entrance was narrow, the risk high, and there was no time to wait for full support. Every moment mattered. Minutes later, a small team arrived. 2 uniformed officers, Flashlight slicing the gray light. A medic on standby. Mara climbed down first, Rex following close behind. The air in the tunnel was thick, damp, and suffocating. Walls of brick, slick with moisture, stretched endlessly. Somewhere beneath the city, children waited. As they progressed, Mara's flashlight revealed markings on the walls, handprints, scratch symbols, even short phrases written in childish script. Some were crossed out, others incomplete. Her throat tightened. The tunnel was not just a hiding place. It had been a prison for months. Then came a sound, a muffled sob, too soft to be human at first. But it was unmistakable. Mara signaled everyone to stop. Rex barked once, low and urgent. The sound came from a small, iron door embedded in the wall. Tom had mentioned it. In passing, almost like a warning. Mara's hand shook slightly as she turned the handle. The door opened into a dimly lit chamber. The children were there, 5 of them huddled together, faces pale, eyes wide. Their relief at seeing Mara and Rex was immediate but fragile, like the breaking of a dam. They didn't run to her, didn't speak, just clung to each other, trembling. "Hey, it's okay," Mara whispered, crouching low, keeping her voice soft. "You're safe now." One child, a boy maybe 9 or 10, stepped forward. He said if we told anyone, he'd come back. Mara glanced at the tunnel entrance. "No one can come in here without us knowing." She gave Rex a reassuring pat. The dog pressed against her side, ears flicking toward the shadows. But the relief was short-lived. As they began escorting the children out, a sudden scrape echoed from deeper in the tunnels. Flashlights swung wildly. Shadows darted. Someone, or something, was moving behind them. Mara froze. "Stop. Everyone stay close." She drew her sidearm, heart racing. Rex growled low, hackles raised. From the shadows stepped a figure. Another man, younger, hands clenched, eyes wild. His uniform suggested he was another maintenance worker, but his gaze was unhinged. "You shouldn't have come here," he spat. "They're not yours." Louis stepped forward, voice steady. "We're taking these kids now. Step aside." The man's face twisted with rage and fear. "You don't understand. They belong to people who pay. People with eyes everywhere. You'll never leave this tunnel alive." Mara's stomach dropped. She had suspected a larger network, but now it was real, powerful, hidden, ruthless. Every instinct screamed at her to protect the children, to get them out. She signaled the team forward. A tense standoff followed, shadows stretching against the damp walls. The younger man lunged, a sharp metallic object glinting in his hand. Rex reacted instantly, intercepting, teeth snapping, a growl vibrating through the chamber. The man went down with a thud, groaning, disarmed. Mara exhaled, chest heaving. The children, seeing the danger end, clung tighter to each other. As they moved back toward the surface, Mara couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching them. From the city above, from shadows unseen. Tom had been scared, but the real masterminds were still out there, observing, waiting. Once they emerged, drenched but alive, Mara knelt, brushing hair from the children's faces. "You're okay," she said softly, her own voice cracking despite herself. "You're safe." Later, in the safe house, Mara sat with Rex at her feet, listening to the children talk in whispers, naming their fears, their small hopes. She scribbled notes, cataloged injuries, and sent updates to the department. Luis, tired and soaked, joined her. "You think we got everyone?" he asked, eyes shadowed with worry. Mara shook her head. "We've got them now. But the people behind this, they're still out there, and they won't stop." She paused, glancing at Rex, who rested his massive head in her lap. "We'll get them. All of them." That night, Mara stared at the city skyline from the safe house window. Rain-slicked streets gleamed faintly, oblivious of the horrors beneath. She thought of the underground room, the hidden tunnels, the whispers of powerful figures, and the fear etched into every child's face. And somewhere in the shadows, she knew, the real battle had only just begun. If you've been following Mara and Rex's investigation, consider liking and subscribing. Your support keeps these stories coming. The city had never felt so empty. Mara Lawson drove through rain-slicked streets, Rex alert in the passenger seat, ears twitching at every echo of distant tires or footsteps. The children were safe for the night, tucked into the temporary shelter, but Mara couldn't shake the gnawing suspicion that someone was watching. The network they had uncovered, the one Tom Carter had been hiding, was still out there, still alive, and still dangerous. She parked near the main entrance of the park, flashlight in hand, every sense on high alert. Rex sniffed the air, nose twitching. He had a habit of detecting things Mara couldn't. Clues, people, intentions. Tonight, he was rigid, tail stiff, pawing the pavement. Mara crouched beside him. "Show me, boy. Show me where we're missing something." The German shepherd bolted toward the swings, barking sharply. Mara ran after him. The hatch, sealed days ago, was ajar, a tiny but deliberate gap in the metal. Someone had been here after them. Her pulse quickened. She descended into the underground tunnels, Rex at her heels. The scent was faint but unmistakable. Another human, recently passed. Mara's flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating the brick walls and scrawl symbols. But something was different. This tunnel was cleaner, almost polished, as if someone had been maintaining it. Then she heard it, a soft laugh. Not a child's. Not human, exactly. A sound meant to unnerve, to remind her she wasn't alone. "Come out," she called, voice steady, though her heart hammered. "We're not leaving without answers." A shadow shifted at the far end. A figure stepped forward, Tom Carter. His eyes were wide, haunted, and Mara noticed something she hadn't before. A briefcase clutched tightly against his chest. "Tom, what is this?" Mara demanded. "Who else is involved?" Tom's lips trembled. I had to. They said if I didn't aid," he faltered, glancing nervously to the walls. "The children, it's bigger than you know. The people in charge, they're untouchable." Rex growled low, stepping between Mara and Tom. The dog's hackles bristled. Mara raised a hand to stop him. She had a bad feeling. Suddenly, a hidden door along the tunnel wall swung open. Two more figures emerged, men in dark coats, faces partially concealed. They moved with a quiet precision, trained, deliberate. Mara recognized the type immediately. Professional, cold, and dangerous. Tom's face went pale. I didn't know they were coming tonight." One of the men spoke, voice low and controlled. "Detective Lawson, step aside. You've interfered enough." Mara raised her flashlight, catching the glint of a weapon. "I don't think so." A tense standoff unfolded. Rex barked, growling, lunging forward. The professional men reacted instantly, aiming their weapons, but Mara acted faster, pushing Tom out of the way. Shots rang in a confined tunnel, echoing against brick walls. Sparks of fear and adrenaline collided in the air, but Mara moved methodically, ducking behind crates, eyes scanning for escape routes. Rex attacked the nearest assailant, knocking him off balance. Mara ran toward the small iron door where the children had been hiding, determined to secure them if things went wrong. One man slipped, another fired blindly. Then a loud crash echoed as one of the men hit the ground hard, unconscious. In the chaos, Mara realized a shocking truth. Tom Carter hadn't been just a scared accomplice. He had been playing both sides. His earlier fear had been genuine, but he had led them here, knowing professional network would intervene. He had wanted to test Mara, to see if she could survive the trap. "Tom!" Mara shouted, grabbing his arm. "Why? You put them all at risk." I had no choice," he stammered, panic overtaking him. "They'll kill me if I fail. They control everything." Mara's fist tightened. "Not anymore. Rex now." The German shepherd charged at Tom, barking ferociously, forcing him down. Mara bound his hands with zip ties from her kit, her chest heaving. Her eyes flicked to the unconscious men. They were professionals, but trapped in the tight tunnel, immobilized by the environment and Mara's quick thinking. She exhaled, finally lowering her weapon. "This ends tonight," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Once the tunnel was secured, Mara and her team carefully retrieved the children, who stared wide-eyed at the scene, too much for their young minds, yet comforted by the presence of Rex. They were alive, shaken but alive. Back in the safe house, the children began to eat, warm food bringing color back to their pale faces. Mara sat in the corner, watching Rex lie at their feet, tail flicking, alert. She allowed herself a small sigh of relief, but the weight of betrayal lingered. Tom Carter had seemed harmless at first, but his duplicity had nearly cost lives. Mara's trust was fractured, not just in him, but in the system that had allowed such a network to fester. Later, as the city slept under a soft drizzle, Mara took the children's statements, recording every name, every detail Tom had provided under duress. She realized something vital. The network was not destroyed, only disrupted, but tonight had proved that courage, intuition, and an unbreakable bond between human and K-9 could triumph, even against powerful, hidden forces. Rex nudged her hand with his nose, sensing her tension. Mara smiled softly, brushing his fur. "We did it, boy. We saved them." The quiet resolution was powerful in its simplicity. The children safe, the immediate threat neutralized, but the shadow of corruption still lurking in the city. Mara knew she had made a difference, one life at a time, and that was enough to carry her through the sleepless nights ahead. Finally, Mara stood at the window, looking out over the rain-slicked streets of the city park. The swing set swayed gently, the underground tunnels hidden beneath, but now silent. She whispered to herself, "You're safe now and we'll keep it that way." Rex rested his head on her lap, and for the first time in days, Mara allowed herself to feel a fragile peace. The horror had ended, the betrayal exposed, and a new day was dawning, quiet, but full of possibility. If you've been following Mara and Rex's journey, a like and subscription helps keep these stories alive. Stories like this, grounded in suspense and human emotion, reach more people with your support.